lead. I'm trying to contact Tiger 6 on Vector, over. Tiger 6 is on the way up.
While the Vietnam War raged, an activist stood out beyond all the rest. In the 1960s, Abbie Hoffman took a stand against the Vietnam War and other injustices by holding public protests. His outrageous tactics, including his protests at the 1968 Democratic National Convention, inspired others to publicly protest against the war and the typical American lifestyle. Abbie Hoffman was born into a Jewish family on November 30th, 1936 in Worcester, Massachusetts. He graduated from Brandeis University in 1959. Abbie's first political demonstration occurred in Paris during the Algerian War. College students were locking arms and singing. Police soon came and broke up the protests. Abbie escaped with no injury. In 1960, Abbie married Sheila Carklin, had 2 children, Andrew and Ilya. They divorced 6 years later. In 1967, Abbie married Anita Kushner. They had 1 child, America. Abbie, Anita, and Paul Krasner created the Youth International Party, aka the Yippies, in 1967. The Yippies were based on a free society having cooperation versus competition. The Yippies proved many flaws in today's society. One of those examples was in the New York Stock Exchange. On August 24, 1967, Abbie and Jerry Rubin led a group of Yippies into the New York Stock Exchange. This group then threw $1 bills off the balconies and down into the trading area. By having the traders go after the money, he proved his point that greed is corrupting America. Abbie's next target was the Pentagon. He wanted to exorcise it of its evil spirits. The Pentagon is the headquarters for the Defense Department for the United States. Abbie wanted to levitate the building 300 feet in the air and spin it only by holding hands with hundreds of other people and using their minds. Abbie first wanted to measure the length of each side to see how many people he would need, but he got arrested for trespassing. Over 10,000 people showed up to the exorcism. They tried levitating the Pentagon for 48 hours before they were forced to leave. The Pentagon never was lifted, but Abbie felt that the exorcism got rid of the evil spirits. Abbie's next protest was to be held at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. This protest will be his most famous. Abbie was to make speeches and then lead a group into the convention, being held in Chicago. Unfortunately, many riots occurred. Although many people rioted, only 8 were arrested and tried for crossing state lines with intent to incite riot. These 8 would become Chicago 8. The Chicago 8 consisted of David Dellinger, Renner Davis, Thomas Hayden, Abbie Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, Lee Weiner, John Froines, and Bobby Seale. Bobby Seale, a Black Panther, was ordered bound and gagged for making too many disturbances and was held for 16 counts of contempt of court. The trial is now the Chicago 7 trial.
I think people around the country have a view of this trial as one of total chaos, defendants fighting with marshals on the floor, people coming in naked, the judge jerking off in his chair, witnesses standing up and screaming bloody murder, people running around with guns and bombs, and that's the image that we've created of the trial without actually having done any of those things.
All but Froines and Weiner were found guilty. The rest decided to appeal the decision of Judge Julius Hoffman. The appeal went to the 7th Circuit Court, and they found the Chicago 7 innocent of all charges. Abbie was a full-time activist for several years, but none of his protests were as big as his previous. In 1973, Abbie was arrested for the sale of cocaine. He faced a mandatory life sentence. He went underground to avoid the prison sentence. Abbie got plastic surgery and kept in touch with Anita through letters. During this time, Anita took care of finances and helped out any way she could. Although underground, Abbie continued writing books under an alias. In 1980, Abbie came out into mainstream America and served a few weeks in jail because his lawyers got him a deal. Unfortunately for Abbie, now it was the 80s and capitalism was cool. Abbie could not get the fame he once had. He committed suicide April 12, 1989, after losing a hard-fought battle with depression. In 1998, Abbie Hoffman died of breast cancer. Abbie Hoffman lives on today through movies like Forrest Gump and Steal This Movie.
Kill people, and you learn how to watch your brothers die in the jungle. In the jungle, halfway across the world, in a war that even Nixon doesn't believe will ever win.